Hi guys, and welcome to the third video in my Blue Gouldian breeding series. Today I'm going to be looking at the sort of second stage of keeping Gouldians when you want to step up and not just give them the basics, but give them things that are going to bring them more into breeding condition, keep them extra healthy, and yeah, just generally keep them in peak condition. So yeah, this video is basically a follow-on from the last one where I showed you the basic elements of keeping Gouldian finches, which was the basic seed mix, grit mix, things like cuttlefish, a sort of simple net, and a simple Gouldian breeding nest box. So as you can see, I've got a pretty wide variety of stuff here, and I'm going to go through them as quick as I can. Yeah, we're gonna sort of lift your game a little bit and go to the next level of keeping Gouldian finches. Okay, so the first thing on the list is something that I did mention in my last video, which was a tonic mix for when the Gouldians are molting. This is, well, more specifically for that, but also when they're breeding, I find these seeds to be a really massive benefit. So I've got a mix here that I make of myself, which is basically a group of extra seeds which aren't typically in the Finch seed mix that I feed them. So these are a wide variety of Australian seeds and seeds that Gouldians will find in the wild and eat, and just a mix of stuff that's sort of from here in Australia. I get this from a specific place in Queensland. So these are things like bombatsi, barnyard grass, lettuce seed, yeah, just a really wide variety of seeds that they're not going to get in a normal seed mix. And then of course I specifically give them the Niger seed, which is the black oily seed for when they are molting. This really helps with their feather development. And when they have young ones as well, they'll devour this as well. So yeah, the oily seeds are really good for them when they're going through their molt. So that's sort of yeah, that's step one. So that's my tonic mix. Now another thing you can try are these pellets. There's one that's a vegetable pellet and one's a sort of fruit pellet. And then I've got like a fruit pellet sort of mix, which are a bit smaller. Now I have had zebra finches really love these. As far as Gouldians go, I haven't really had much success with them really eating this as yet, but I am trying it. I'm trying to give them as a bit of a supplement to eat, so I'm not sure whether they're really eating any. But this is something you can try. A lot of birds will eat these, but yeah, I am finding my Gouldians quite picky when it comes to this stuff. Now this is something I've been using in recent years with, well, all my finches, but more specifically Gouldians. And I sprinkle this on their sprouted seed. Now it's basically just a supplemental powder, and it's Prima. And I buy this in a 1 kilo bag and just keep it sealed up and use sort of small amounts at a time. Don't use a whole heap of it, just sort of, you know, a little bit of a scoop for every time that I give them their sprouted seed. So yeah, this is something I think is really beneficial and something I've only sort of, yes, you know, started using more in recent years. But I think even if I was breeding parrots and stuff, I'd probably get the parrot version as well. The birds can find it a little bit off-putting at first, but generally they're very accepting of it. So I think because it's natural ingredients, yeah, they're not too bothered with it. But this is something I would really recommend. And later I'm going to show you my sprouted seed. I will put a link in the description below a full video on how I do my sprouted seed, but I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of it later, and I'll show you what I do with this stuff. Okay, so one of the other dry foods I use are this Finch and Budgie crumbles by Vetafarm. So that's this stuff here. Smells really nice. You can smell the sort of blueberries in them. Yeah, it's one of the supplements I use. A lot of finches really love this stuff. Budgies really love it. My Western Rosellas used to really love it. These Gouldians as yet, I'm sort of having a bit of trouble with them trying all these new foods, but I think they'll come around to it. And I just feed it dry in a little bowl and let them have some. So this is another item you can try out, and it goes with for all finches as well, and budgies or parakeets, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, this stuff's really good. Now, two other items that I use are the egg and biscuit mix, which you can see here, and that's a Paswell one, and then the Paswell Finch soft food. Now, Gouldians specifically, I find, can be a little bit picky with these dry foods. Again, these ones that I've got now are sort of very picky, and they're not really trying it at the moment. But it's just something you can give to them. Now, a lot of people just give this as a wet mix when they have young ones, and this is specifically, canaries will love this mix when it's wet. But yeah, these are things to help with their breeding. It helps with live food replacement, so it's high in protein, so it's good for the birds and for their feather development and the young ones. So I do generally try and use this a bit with my birds. I like to give it to them dry, that way it doesn't go off in our Australian hot weather, etc. And I do find a lot of birds will pick it up and actually go and wet it themselves. They'll just go and have it dry and then drink some water and make it into a wet mix. So yeah, this stuff's really great for them. Canaries specifically will love this, zebra finches, and yeah, it's something you can try with your Gouldians as well. All right, so lastly are my liquid supplements. Now I'm going to include this one in the supplement anyway, even though it is a wormer, but I'm just going to quickly go through them. So my wormer I use is Moctidectin Plus. Yeah, this stuff is, I found really good. I've used it on all my birds for quite a number of years now. It covers a lot of problems that they can have, and you just use 5 mils for every litre of water. And as I said in the previous video, I've got a specific 1 litre bowl that I use for this. So yeah, I really recommend this, and I get this from my vet, so you can ask your vet for it. It's not just available generally at the shops, you do have to ask for it. So that's my wormer that I use. Now in a future video I'm going to show you how I use that, so look out for that in a future video. This one I just put in their water twice a week, or specifically after I worm them or give them some other supplements. It's a multivitamin, multi-boost, and this one you just add in just a little bit in water, I think 1 mil for every litre, so it's not a massive amount. It does smell a little bit, which can be off-putting for some of the birds, but generally once they get used to it, it's no problem at all. But yeah, this I really recommend, multi-boost, and yeah, I use that, yeah, like I said, a couple of times a week at least. Spark liquid, I mentioned, I think in my first video, when I'm transporting birds, or if I've got them in a smaller cage and they've been a bit stressed out, this sort of helps them recover. So I really recommend this one by Vetafarm when I'm transporting birds, etc. AviCleanse is something I use when I do my sprouted seed, and again, you can check out that sprouted seed video below in the description, but I will do a future video running through my sprouted seed. And Liquid Gold is a calcium supplement, so I use this when the birds are breeding, when the hens are going to be laying eggs, etc., so they don't get egg bound. And I probably do it once a week anyway, just as a bit of a booster. So yeah, so those are some of my liquid supplements. Okay, so I've got another couple of items here that are sort of your next step up in Gouldian keeping. Now one is a much nicer net. Now I showed you in the previous video a very sort of simple, cheaper net. Well, this one's a little bit pricier. It's got the nice sort of aluminium handle and grip. It's very well padded and a little bit better net material. As you can see, you can also see through this one, which I find quite handy. There are some nets that you can't see through, which are actually quite good for keeping the birds sort of still and quiet, and they feel a bit more sort of secure, obviously, when they can't see through the net. So I usually use those nets for larger birds, small parrots, medium parrots, large parrots, and I use these finer ones for the finches, as I like to be able to see in the net when I'm trying to grab them out. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit better net, and I think once you've kept birds for a little while, you might want to invest in a little bit better net like this. This one's a pretty good size for Gouldians. It's quite a large opening, so you've got a little bit of wiggle room when you come to actually catching them. And like I said, it's got much superior padding around the outside. You can really feel the foam. So yeah, that's one of the upgraded items. Now, one of the other items I went through, I think it was in the very first video when I bought the Gouldians, was my 4-bay bird carry box. Now, I did mention I had a lot of others. Now, I do have many of them, but I thought I'd just show you another couple of examples. Now, once you start getting into birds, you'll definitely want to invest in some carry boxes, whether it's a 4-bay or a single bay or a 2-bay. These you can find online. I actually get mine from the bird sales, and I've collected quite a few over the years, and they all have their different purposes. These are just two examples I thought I'd give you. So if obviously if you've come from the first video, you will have seen my large 4-bay one, which is really great for transporting many birds. But then of course there's your single bays and your double bays. These are exactly the same principle, just a sliding door with the wire and a little entrance hole. But once you start taking birds to sales, or when you are selling birds and you want to transport them, or you need to take birds to the vet, for example, or you want to show birds or something like that, you'll definitely be needing transport cages. And it's getting a really good quality one, is going to last you essentially your whole lifetime. Now, one trick I do with them is I actually varnish them. That enables you, when they are a bit dirty or dusty, you can just wipe them down with some warm soapy water, and they come up really clean. That's especially important for the inside. Birds do tend to obviously put some bird poop in there and discarded seed, etc., and water when you're transporting them or feeding them. So yeah, having the varnish also all over the inside allows you just to wipe it down and use disinfectant spray. So that's a really good trick I've found over the years. The early years, a few of the ones I had got so dirty and messed up over the years, I actually had to replace them. But I haven't had to replace one now for maybe 25 years because I've been varnishing them, so I've got quite a good collection. These double bay ones are really great. You've obviously got a divider, so you can have it as a single bay, or if you have multiple birds you want to transport, you can divide them up. So I recommend something like this size, because you can make it a 1-bay, and it's not too much harder or more expensive to get a little bit larger one than the single bays. But yeah, I quite like these large bay ones, and obviously it has a cover for the front to give the birds a bit more privacy, which is always good. These ones I think have the yes, they have the little bit of a screen there to stop the birds coming in and out easily, which is important. And as I said, when you're handling birds and putting them in and out of these, it's probably a good idea either to do it in a room where you're going to be able to catch the bird and grab your trusty net, and just in case, make sure it's a safe room where the birds aren't going to damage themselves or hurt themselves, and you're going to be able to catch them without stress. Or if possible, do it in the aviary. That way, worst case scenario, if they get out, they're just in the aviary anyway. But yeah, these are items that are really going to lift your game in the bird keeping world, and yeah, highly recommend them. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick video on my sprouted seed. So this is some that I've had now for maybe, this is probably about the 3rd day now, and it's all sprouted. As you can see there, the little shoots. Now I use these sprouting jars. I find them fantastic. It's just basically a mesh lid on top of a jar. You can buy these online. If you're in Australia and you specifically want to know where I get them from, you can send me a message in the comment section. And this is some that I have just soaked overnight. So all you'd basically do is soak this for sort of 9 to 12 hours. I use a bit of, as previously mentioned, some water, just a few drops of this water cleanser in there, and soak it overnight. And then basically just, now this is soaked overnight, I'm going to empty out all the water, rinse it off a few times and leave it to drain, and then you just rinse this off, you know, maybe 4 or 5 times a day with clean water. And then just obviously because of the mesh, you just tip out the water, so that way it keeps the seed clean and keeps it moist for sprouting. and then a few days later you'll end up with this. So what I'm going to do now is put in a little bit of my Prima, which is my Finch supplement. I'm going to put that a little bit in here, and we're just going to shake that around, get a nice coverage, put it in the bowls, and we're going to feed it to the finches. So yeah, I might put a little bit of a video of that at the end here. Now just one thing before I do feed it to the birds. Here's a bit of a look at the sprouted seed itself. I will put a link in the description below to a more thorough sprouting seed video that I've done previously. It goes into the process in a lot more detail, so I hope you can enjoy that too. Okay guys, so the last part of this video is going to be containing what I believe is actually the most important thing to be giving your Gouldian finches if you really want them to succeed, and really that goes for most birds. I find the addition of this stuff really helps. Now I'm quite lucky here in my area, and we're quite lucky in Australia. We have a lot of parkland, and in this parkland we find these naturally occurring seeds. So all I do is I come and collect these, and I take them home and I give them a very good wash, and I feed these to the birds, and they really love them. Now at this time of year they're starting, these seeds specifically are starting to dry out and becomes a little bit harder to collect large amounts, and you can actually freeze them and just defrost them and give them to your birds. But it is just very important, and I always say this, is just make sure the area you're collecting them from is very reliable in terms of your local council or someone hasn't sprayed them with pesticides. It's always worth a double check with them, and I'll go through a bit more of that detail in a moment. But yeah, I just sort of wanted to give you a bit of a look at the area that I come and collect a lot of these seeds from. It doesn't take me long at all when I come down here to get a wide variety of seeds, not just these ones but all the ones I'm about to show you. So yeah, and at the end of that I'm just going to do a little bit of a video of some of my previous Gouldian mutations that I've had. But yeah, I'm going to give you now a bit more detailed look in the green seeds that I feed my birds, and yeah, I hope it's going to be very helpful for you. Okay, so as promised, let's go through a few of these local green seeds that I pick fresh from my birds. I think it's one of the reasons why I've been so successful over the years, is I've always had a reasonably large local supply of these seeds. Now a lot of them sort of die back over summer, or maybe die back a bit more over winter. Like the really good stuff, the panic stuff, tends to unfortunately dry out quite a bit here when I am breeding my Gouldians. So I usually get some of it and freeze it when it is abundant, which is sort of over that sort of winter and spring. A few of these other ones, like this barnyard one, sort of pops up a little bit more in the summer months, and the rest I can sort of find here or there in yeah, as the seasons go along. But yeah, this panic grass really is the staple of Gouldian finch breeders down here in Melbourne. It's everywhere. It just pops up in your garden, in the parks. It's really fantastic. This is my number one. When they have young and it's around, I try and give them as much as I can of this, and they just absolutely love it. Same with the ryegrass. I actually do feed a dry ryegrass in my seed mix. Now I have been told the green version of this is a little bit toxic in high numbers, so I tend not to give too much of this. This is pretty much readily available as well. The barnyard grass stuff here that they really love. Now also this goes for pretty much all the birds you'll keep, not just the Gouldian finches. And some of the stuff as we go through, it's probably a bit big for Gouldians, but I'll take you through that as we go through there. This barnyard grass stuff is really great. They devour this. So I hope that's not toxic in any way. Now this stuff, I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's almost like a little mini wheat, or it's a type of grain, I think. This sort of comes and goes in my area. It's just the right size for Gouldians. Someone out there can probably tell me the name of it. It grows very short and very tall as well. I really love this stuff, and when I can get it for them, I grab them some. It does tend to die off pretty quick out there, but when I get it, I definitely chuck it on the list. Now this one again, I'm not sure. It's very similar to the panic sort of stuff, but it's sort of a broader leafed version. Again, I'm sure that there's a name for it. I'm sorry I can't give you the name of all these things, but you'll be able to see from visual identification. They definitely have a chew on that. This stuff's really great too. It's sort of, when it first starts growing, it's very tight leafed. I'm trying to do this looking through the phone. And then it sort of spreads out into these sort of prongs. I've only started, this has only sprung up in my area in the last sort of 10 years or so. And I have found birds really enjoy it. Now this one, I actually call it Gouldian grass, but I could be completely off the mark. It's a very fine seeded grass. Again, this is probably only really grown in my area in the last sort of 10 years, or a little bit longer perhaps. And when I last had my Gouldians, they really loved this stuff. So I've just come to call it Gouldian grass. I actually don't know what it is, but it's a very fine grass, and doesn't grow very tall, and you can easily miss it. But I do find they really enjoy that. This is a new one I've come across, which I'm going to try a little bit of. I'm not sure what this is really as yet, but it is down near a river. I'm not sure if anyone can tell me what this is and if it's safe. I may even hold off feeding it for now until I can get an ID on it. Now onto the larger items. So I've got a couple of 3 larger seeds here, which if I had some parrots of any size, small or large, they'd probably devour these really happily, whether it was budgies or neophemas, cockatiels, rosellas. I know my rosellas used to love all this kind of stuff. Now, it's quite a large group of seeds here, almost down to like a wheat. Now all these grow sort of in my local-ish area, some a little bit further. I quite often just put it in the aviary with the other grass seeds, because the Gouldians do seem to enjoy sort of picking at it and running their beaks over it. I'm not sure whether they're really getting any seeds out of it or nutrition, but it seems to keep their minds occupied. And you know, I like to keep my birds busy. I don't want them just sitting there in the cage all day bored, and they do seem to enjoy to play with these larger seeds. And again, all of these seeds, once they've eaten, particularly the panic stuff, they will put this as nesting material. So I quite often, usually will find they use this. The first signs that I know that they're been in the nest box is some of these sticking out, and the cockbirds will grab these, and hopefully I can get it on video one time. But they'll actually dance on the perch with one of these, I don't know, as some kind of enticement to the females, and hopefully I can get it on video one time. But maybe look that up. If you look up you know, Finch's mating dance or something like that with grass, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, a lot of finches do it, and it's it's pretty cool to watch. But there you go. So one tip I will give with all of these is make sure you give them a thorough wash before you feed them. I know where I'm getting them from is an area I can trust. I've been picking the seeds from there for geez, I don't even know. Some of the areas maybe 30 years, some more recently. If you do doubt that they're safe, because councils do spray, just be mindful of that in your local park. I'm quite lucky where I am. When they do spray, they spray a coloured dye with the spray to warn dog owners, etc. And I've actually spoken to the local council about it just to double check. And not only have they told me where they do spray, but they've given me a pretty good idea of when they do spray. So be very mindful of that. The council will quite happily talk to you. Just mention that you know, occasionally you pick a few grass seeds for your birds as you're walking along the bike tracks or something, Or if you don't want to do that, just let them know that maybe you're walking your dog and your dog sometimes eats the grasses, and you're just a bit worried that the dog might pick up some of that poison that they do the anti-weed spraying with. But there you go. So those are the green grasses that I use predominantly. But this one, if you can find this, especially here in Victoria, I'm not sure how widespread around the rest of Australia it is. I mean, when I've been up in Queensland, they've got quite a few different types of grass, but grass seeds. But this stuff is fantastic, and you'll see when I do some videos of my birds feeding, this is usually their go-to. That's usually their favourite. I do find though that the Gouldians, really do love the Gouldian grass, in inverted commas, and this wheat kind of style. So there you go. So there's one of the supplements that I give to my birds. I guess I class it as a supplement. It's not something I give every day. Where possible, I probably give some of this every day, even if it's only a couple of pieces. But I try and mix things up a little bit. So when they've got young, yes, definitely I try and give it to them every day. But the rest of the year I sort of give a bit more sporadically, and depending on the season, some of it just is not available.